A couple of weeks ago, I did a video on one of the most underlooked defensive seasons that we've ever seen in college football, and now we will look at one of the most underlooked offensive seasons that we've seen. But unlike Gerard Holloman, the subject of this video dominated for 3 seasons opposed to just 1. This is a classic example of someone being heavily doubted, and instead of letting that doubt affect his mindset, use it as fuel to prove to people that he was capable of much more than they thought. If you were to strictly look at this guy's stats from both high school and college, you would assume that he was one of the most highly touted and highly coveted receivers in the country. However, that was not the case due to uncontrollables like size and competition. Mike Haas's college career and football journey is very inspiring and shows that talent and ability are not subject to a certain perception of what we as fans see as a great football player. From walk-on to the best receiver in the country, his career is as captivating as it is impressive. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I gathered when looking at this dude's career from high school to college is the amount of disrespect he received after proving himself time and time again. To show you what I mean, I couldn't find a whole lot about this dude during his time in high school, but I found out enough to know that he was an absolute dog. He attended Jesuit High School in Portland, Oregon, and graduated in the 2001 class. During his time there, he earned 6 varsity letters, with 3 in football and 3 in baseball, but the gridiron is where he received the most recognition. He played wide receiver and DB, and in his senior season had 79 receptions for 1,746 yards and 21 touchdowns. During that year, he set a state record by scoring 7 touchdowns in a single playoff game, which included 5 first-half touchdowns and 2 on defense, which is absolutely insane. So insane that he is the only player to ever do that. He showed out on the other side of the ball too, and I couldn't find out exactly how many, but he ended high school being the career leader in interceptions. But I'm not sure if that was for the state or his high school, but regardless, it's still very impressive. In his senior season, he made first-team All-State as both a receiver and DB, and to go along with that, he was both the Offensive Player of the Year and the State Player of the Year. Also, that playoff game that I just mentioned, when he had 7 touchdowns in that game, he would end up leading his team to a 4A state title in that season. So to sum it up, bro did everything for his team, and his efforts led Jesuit to a state title. But even with all of these stats and accolades under his belt, the dude did not receive a single college offer on any level, which baffles me. I get that his competition probably wasn't the best, seeing as he played 4A high school teams in the state of Oregon, but surely a small D2 school or someone would see his production and extend an offer, but it never happened. However, his effort did earn him a spot in his high school's Hall of Fame, which he was inducted into in 2018. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm willing to bet that there has never been another State Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, career interception leader, a state champion, and a high school Hall of Fame inductee that did not receive a single offer on any level. And he stood at around 6 foot 200 pounds, so you can't really point to his size as the main reason for him being overlooked as much as he was. Regardless of this, Mike came out of high school with a huge chip on his shoulder and decided to walk on at Oregon State. Now, he graduated from Jesuit in 2001, but the first season he played at Oregon State was 2002, so I'm not sure if he took a gap year or just didn't walk on until his second year in school, but I'll leave that up to y'all's judgment. In 2002, he played primarily special teams and showed out enough to earn a scholarship going into the 2003 season. And once again, just to point this out, this kid literally had one of the most productive high school careers that we have ever seen, and that's saying a lot. But that wasn't enough to earn him a single scholarship from any school at any level. Yet one season of playing special teams in the Pac-10 conference at the D1 level was enough for Oregon State to finally give him a scholarship. I don't know, man, the more I think about it, the harder it is to understand what was stopping literally anyone from giving this guy a chance. Just put yourself in his shoes real quick. Coming out of high school, bro was probably saying to himself, man, I have a resume that compares to anyone in the country and am possibly the greatest high school player to ever come out of Oregon. So what more can I do to get that recognition? I'm not sure how badly or what efforts he was putting in to get his name out there, but he obviously wanted to play college football bad enough to to go through the walk-on process at Oregon State and then grind out a year of special teams in his first season. But he would finally get the chance to prove himself in that 2003 season, and he surpassed even the wildest expectations. He got the start at the beginning of the year and put on an absolute clinic, ending the season with 44 receptions for 1,013 yards and 7 touchdowns. Oregon State finished 8-5 that year, so it was a pretty mediocre season for the team, and though some people were most likely looking at this 6-foot, slow white guy with the thought that this 2003 season was probably a fluke, they could not have been more wrong. In 2004, as a junior, he increased his production by putting up 86 receptions for 1,379 yards and 7 touchdowns. He balled out, and his efforts led to him being named an ESPN First-Team All-American and an AP Third-Team All-American. So now he was finally starting to get some of the recognition that he deserved, but he left his best play for last, and his 2005 season would forever cement his name in college football history. After putting up 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons, he ended his college career with a year to remember in which he had 90 receptions for 1,532 yards and 6 touchdowns. With that performance, dude snagged the Biletnikoff Award, which goes to the best receiver in college football. He was once again an ESPN.com First-Team All-American, but added to that with the honor of being dubbed an AP and Walter Camp Football Foundation First-Team All-American as well. With that, he also had a couple of accolades, which include being the team's all-time leader in career receiving yards with 3,924. He became the first and only Oregon State player to have 3 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons. He is the most 100-yard receiving games in school history with 9. He has the record for most single-game receiving yards with 294 against Boise State in 2004, and is tied for the most single-game receptions as he had 14 against Arizona in that same year. Bro, this man was a walk-on 4 seasons prior and was now the most decorated football player in Oregon State history. This was topped off in December of 2022 when he became just the 3rd player in school history to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Sadly, his NFL career was not the fever dream that his college career was. He was selected 171st overall by the Saints in the 2006 draft and signed a 3-year contract with them. However, he would only be with the team until September of that same year. After his time in New Orleans didn't work out, the Bears signed him to their practice squad, and he would actually earn a spot on the active roster in September of 2007. Fast forward another year in late August of 2008 when he would get released and bounced back and forth from the team's practice squad and active roster, which ultimately led to him being released by Chicago for the final time in late December of that year. After that, he was signed by Seattle and went through the same process of bouncing around from the practice squad to the active roster, which ended with him being released for the last time in August of 2010. Post-NFL days, he played 1 brief season in the UFL, but retired from the game for good after that season. So when we look back on this man's career, the main theme of this video is that he was greatly disrespected. And the evidence of that comes from the fact that he got 0 scholarship offers out of high school after balling out. And then even post-high school, it took him a whole year of grinding out special team reps at Oregon State to finally get that scholarship. But the one thing that does it for me is that even after all of these years, the severely limited amount of information on the internet that I could find on this guy just emphasizes how much he continues to be disrespected. This dude became arguably the greatest player in his school's history. And was it some bum D2 or D3 school? Nah, we are talking about a major D1 Power 5 school. And to think that the only reason he achieved this is because he had the drive and persistence to join as a walk-on is absolutely wild to think about. Like, Oregon State didn't even want this dude, but he joined and it worked out for him. I get that he wasn't the flashiest, quickest, or most exciting player to watch, but he has attained all that he has for a reason. And it just floors me that someone who was at one time the greatest receiver in the entire country doesn't get the respect he deserves. My hope is that his College Football Hall of Fame induction allows his name to be widespread in order to receive the recognition he deserves. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and share it, as that helps the channel to grow. Besides that, until next time.